Hello, horror fam. It's me, Kylie,
Cass.
and today we have on the amazing Ivotres from Horror Movies and Beyond. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Um,
Awesome.
for those of you who don't recognize Ivotres has, I mean, she's an incredible woman in horror. And like we were just saying off camera, Kylie and I both, like, when we were talking about doing Women in Horror Month and really focusing on people who do horror content creation and are women, you were one of the first people that popped into our mind. And I think it's just because, like, you do a very similar kind of thing where when you interview somebody, you're not picking apart a movie. You're going into like the really tough topics and like talking about deep themes and stuff. And I feel like that's something that Kylie and I both resonate because we we
Absolutely.
we both like just talking about the deeper meaning in horror. Um, so but Eva Treese has a great following. She is constantly doing things. And I just saw your interview for Sweetness, I
Hmm.
think, on my feed today, and that was great. So, but she's always getting really great interviews, and she's just a really good example of a woman horror content creator. So we're so excited to talk to you and kind of just have fun, be a little silly, and just talk about being women in horror. So, and if you don't know, March is Women in Horror Month. We are actually filming this in February, but this episode will be coming out the first week of March. Um, so please stay tuned to our page. We'll have a lot of different content creators on talking about horror and horror content creation, but then we'll also be talking about a lot of women in horror as well, and who we think really deserves to get their flowers right now. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start the intro, and then we'll be back. So let's go ahead and cue the music.
Welcome to the Horrorcraft Podcast.
All right, we are back, and we are here with Eva Treese, and we're going to start out with some icebreakers. And this question is very subjective, especially for what we do.
Yeah,
I feel like it changes all the time, and I cannot do a ghost face voice to save my life. So please, people, don't expect me to do it. But what is your favorite horror, favorite scary movie or horror movie? And this could be current, all time, like very subjective.
My favorite is The Thing from
Oh,
'82. That is my favorite all time of everything. Number one.
yeah.
that's a good
I,
one.
I thought it might be just by certain things in the background
Oh,
there. But I didn't want to like fully assume, but yeah, I mean, The Thing is just one of those perfect horror movies that you just like, it still gets under your skin to this day. Like, I still know people that are having the debate on who they actually thought was the creature at the end, to
mm.
this day. So, um, but I love that.
I have one. Which horror villainess do you think doesn't get enough respect?
Mm. Oh man. Oh, my brain just started going and going and going. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna have to go with Candyman.
Can't
Not
Okay.
enough. I mean, there is out there, but not enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. That is a really, really good one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's just a lot. Like, obviously, Tony Todd was incredible, and that makes the role. But I also think that there's just a lot of like the urban legend side of
Mhm.
Candyman and like the fear behind it. So, who is your favorite female horror icon?
Ooh, um, icon. I'm gonna have to say it could be a character or the person, right?
It could be either or.
Either. Yeah.
Okay, so my favorite character would have to be Ellen Ripley
Oh
from
yeah.
Aliens. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Specifically
definitely a good one.
her type of character from Aliens, not that because they kind of change over time, but it's Aliens. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably me and Cass's favorite, Ripley character from from Aliens, from that specific movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I just think she's at her peak because you have a lot of these like rough and tumble, like colonial Marines, and
Hmm.
she just like fits right in with them. And there's just a lot of like, I love like the nuance behind her character and like her relationship with Newt, and just like a lot of the things like she's strong, but she's vulnerable at the same time too.
Hmm.
There's just a layer behind that that's very relatable, and I absolutely love the Alien franchise in general, but
Hmm.
Aliens is probably the movie that I watch the most. Like if it's on, I will put it on in the background and I will continue to watch it, because it's just one of those things that I feel like was stuck in my, especially the holidays, because I feel like
Yeah.
Aliens was played a lot like during Thanksgiving and stuff on AMC or like Christmas. And so I have this weird thing with like Aliens kind of being like a holiday movie in my mind. But
I mean, it
I
could
think
be.
I feel that, they never elaborate like what's going on in
Yeah.
space. Like
Yeah.
Or
not
yeah.
really
Yeah.
going on, but I think it was just one of those movies that they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go ahead and just like toss it in during
Hmm.
Right.
Christmas and see if this catches on." And I just remember like doing Christmas activities, like trimming the tree, and like Aliens was on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
One thing about, I mean, one thing about Aliens, those two, the Thing and the Aliens, those two specific movies, is that I saw The Thing when I was 4 with my parents, and then the Aliens I saw at the drive-in when it came out. So that kind of tell you how old I am. um, sort of tells you. But yeah, I remember seeing that at the drive-in, the old school drive-in. Some of them changed, but I mean, where you had to put the thing on the actual antenna of the car.
yeah.
Um, and there was a playground, and it was just crazy. It was scary. They were scary back then. But yeah, so it just brings back that memory of sitting in the car. So it's not only just my favorite, it's my second favorite movie. So it's like The Thing here, and then all that's Aliens.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I see
I'm
the
right
alien in
there.
the
So
background.
yeah, those are the two. But yeah, those they just bring back really great memories from childhood. So yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
What is your favorite independent horror movie right now?
Ooh, I'm gonna have to say, oh, there's some good ones I saw. Um, you would probably think it'd be Dracula, but I much as I loved it, it's not. I'm gonna have to go with Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. I
Yes.
love that. I
Yes.
love Sam Rockwell. I've loved him since, I mean, Charlie's Angels.
Yep.
Yes.
He was in
Yep.
Iron Man 2, the villain, and well, one of the villains in Iron Man 2. And Galaxy Quest is one of my favorite movies. And he played Guy. But I think his one of his best performance, even though it's kind of like cringe a little bit, was in The Green Mile, uh, when he played the prisoner
Yeah.
who did some
Yeah.
terrible things. but I always loved his style. He's always dancing. He's always just enjoying himself. And the movie was just, I love that he looked like that and he wasn't an idiot or just like crazy. He was very smart. He just had to look like that from going back and forth in time. So um, I just I just love him. So yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we
that
love.
movie was so good, so
Hmm.
good. Very
Yeah,
impressed.
I just like the way that they kind of had so many conversations about so many things that are so prevalent now. And I
Mhm.
think people watching that will think that, oh, we're not far from that. But like, I mean, we're really not. So
Yeah.
like
We're really
it was
not.
just a great blend of like humor mixed in with like heart and actually like a very important message. And
Hmm.
I think it was just done really, and I mean, everyone that they cast between Sam Rockwell and Juno Temple, uh, I mean, they just Michael Pena, like they had an
Yeah,
incredible just cast. So Kylie and I both have said that that's probably going to be like the movie to beat this year
yeah.
um, so far. So which female horror director do you feel deserves more recognition?
Mm. Hmm. I mean, there's some good ones, but I think I'm gonna go with Nia DaCosta because I think she really needs to be do more to get out there. I mean, obviously, the first time I've heard of her was when she did Candyman, and people were saying, "Oh, it's a remake." No, it's not a remake. It's a continuation of the story. But Nia DaCosta, I want to see more of her, more of that style. Yeah.
We were just
Yeah.
talking about her for our Tales from the Hood episode we did.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. And I want to see so many different things. And I think even like I don't think maybe I mentioned that, but I always said that like if somebody were to make another entry into Tales from the Hood, I think she would be the perfect one to do it
Mm-hmm.
because of how well she balanced everything for Candyman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that was just such a great, because that's a hard task, like to
Mm-hmm.
take, to mix past with present and then like reimagine it in a certain way and add layers to it. So I definitely would love to see more from her
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Just
I
because I
thought
think
the
she, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you go
Oh,
ahead.
the paper puppets
Yeah.
in the beginning and then towards the end. I mean, I could watch a whole entire movie like that. Like that was incredible. So I never would have thought to do something like that. That was crazy.
Yeah, and just some of the shots too, like, I know the
Mm,
one that sticks out to me is, like, when he comes out after seeing his mom and he, like, finds out all the information, and then it's,
mhm,
like, the lighting, and
mhm,
Mhm.
kinda you see that kinda, like, switch almost, and just the way that they did that whole kind of, like, imagery of, like, the tonal shift after that just was something that I really haven't seen someone do something like that since then.
mhm,
And I think again, it is hard because you're going against a character that's so beloved and done by somebody that, clearly that was his role, and then
mhm.
you're adding layers to it. So, um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's great. So,
Yeah.
Nia DaCosta, if you're listening, we want you in horror more.
Yes, we
Mhm.
Um,
do. Yes, we
so,
do.
um, so for those of our listeners out there, how did you start your journey into content creation?
I knew that question was coming, but it has so many layers. Well, I'm gonna try to go as fast, like shorten it, but it actually started before the horror part. It was I was working actually. Let me not go there. So my ex, he was into comic books and things like that. And I went to my first, I think it was Kamikaze. It was Stan Lee's Kamikaze at the time before they changed it, way before COVID, way. So we went around and I was walking around and I came across Full Moon Features, and I was like, oh, I know, who that is, and then I saw the old VHS tapes and DVDs and stuff like that. And then there were the puppets from Puppet Master. They were kind of on display. And I was just going through this stuff and I was like, man, I remember all this stuff as a kid. And I said, I was like, man, it'd be so cool to talk to the guy who made these. And I know it was Charles Band. And the guy who was running the booth, he said, oh, he's right over there. And he pointed to him and he was like, Charles Band, come over here. And then I was frozen. Like I was just like, oh my God, that is you. And he was the sweetest, nicest guy. We talked for a while and he told me how he created the dolls. And I completely forgot like why they look the way they do. Completely forgot. But he liked me so much. He gave me this doll right here, the Blade plush doll. And
Yep.
I've had it since 2014. So, and it's dusty and everything, but it's a constant reminder of of you just never know unless you try. And I wasn't into anything, nothing at all at the time. So when I talked to him, and I was asking him questions and he was just very comfortable and we were laughing. I was there for hours and I was like, but he was also helping other people. And I was like, you know what? I like this. I like asking behind the scene questions. And so I sat down and thought of an idea of how could I do this? And I came up with Nerdtastic Girl, and it was just a blog. And I was like, now I got to talk to people. So I went to another convention, WonderCon, and I just walked up to people. One of the first ones was like Casper Van Dien. He was so sweet and wild. He's very different than his movies. he's very different. And it was his fiance at the time. Now they're married. And she was dressed as Wonder Woman. And I just walked up to people. I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, oh, and then I just said, hey, I'm Ivotres, and this is Nerdtastic Girl, and I'm just got a few questions that I always had, like 2 or 3. And then he was like, okay, and I talked to him and recorded it, and I was sweating bullets and everything. And then I went to Monsterpalooza, and one of the first people there that I walked up to was Tom Holland, director of Child's Play, and he couldn't do the interview, but he said talk to his son, and he gave me his phone number to his son. I talked to the son, and he said you seems great. Here's the address to my dad's house. Go do the interview. And I went to Tom Holland's house in the hills and did his interview in his home with the background of, he had the bat from Fright Night. He had the original Good Guy doll. He had the original Chucky doll. Then he had the thinner dolls. And I was just walking through his house and I was just in shocked. And then his wife gave me a box, and inside the box was when Vincent was using that to kill the vampire, and it was like the stake and the cross and everything, and I was like holding it from the actual movie. And yeah, that's how it started. And he was very comfortable with me. I stayed there for a while, and ever since then I was like, I know I want to do this. I probably won't be going to everybody's house like that again, but then it was Robin Shelby. She plays Slimer. Then it was Michael Gross from Tremors. I mean, it was just here and there. I would get people, and then the biggest one was oh my god, his name just the guy who created Night of Living Dead.
George A. Romero.
Yeah, it just
Yes.
it went past my head. George A. Romero. I had interviewed him, and then he passed away a year and a half later. So ever since then, I was always scared and always nervous, but I just did it. And so, but it was with a lot of different genres. It wasn't one specific until I was like, I really love horror movies. I grew up watching horror movies. It was like a family thing, VHS, mom and pop VHSs. And it was normal going to see Pet Sematary in the theater, The Fly in the theater when they came out and everything. So I kind of transitioned into horror, but I still didn't know what to do with it or what to call it or anything because I wanted the most generic name I could ever think of. And I just went horror movies and beyond because I wanted to go beyond just talking about just horror in general, like just it's more to it. And it kind of blew up when one of my first interviews with the Chiodo brothers, they were the first one of the interviews as Horror Movies Beyond. Then John Massari saw that, and then he contacted me, and I ended up interviewing him at a studio. And then he said, "Let me introduce you to some of my good friends." And he introduced me to James and Chelsea from Dead Meat. And then I ended up being a guest on their podcast, and then it just went from there. And here we are. So that's the short end of how it began.
I love that though, because I feel
That's
like
a pretty incredible start. Like, really. Yeah.
Yeah, just doing it. Like, no one taught me. I went to school for film. So I went to Cal State Fullerton, and I took film and art. And I took producing, script writing, directing, story structure, all that stuff. I took all that, and I loved most of the behind the scenes. When I took TV studio production, we had to come up with our own production and everything. And I have so much respect for people who do live TV. I did it. It's incredibly hard. So ever since doing the behind the scenes, coming up with the ideas, coming up with the story, I thought that was more important than the movie itself. I mean, the movie's important, but how people get there, the blood, sweat, and tears, I mean, that should be accounted for. Or it's hard. It's hard. And so that's why I really started interviewing. Charles Band was the reason to start what I wanted to do. Tom Holland was the reason to go deep dive into the depths of horror behind the scenes. And I just kept going. And then Joe Bob Briggs, I used to watch him. He was Monster Vision back in the day. And so I always wanted something like that. So, I mean, every person somewhere in my life contribute to how I am today. But it's always when people say, "Oh, I don't know how to start," just start. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just walked in, hey, and some people said no, some people said come back, and I mean, that you just have to take the chance and just do it, because you won't never know, and you don't want the regret. Like, I regret certain things. Now I just do it. And if it fails, it fails. It's okay. If someone says no, it's not the end of the world. But number one thing I would tell people, if you're going to talk to people, go up to these, actors and directors and whatnot at these conventions, and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy." Never take it personal. Never, ever take it personal. Just move on, because you will see them again. And I interviewed Casper Van Dien 3 times, and now I'm cool with his wife. So, and you just never know. Like, you never know. And then I'm cool with like Dead Meat and them, been to parties and stuff like that. So you just don't know it. Horror business is very, very small. So if you have an attitude, believe me, someone already knows about it. So just keep doing it and just never take it personal.
I
I think that's
really
really
I
good
love that.
advice.
Yeah, I really do because I do think sometimes it does like you do get intimidated by certain things, and I think you can kind of hold yourself back. I know like Kylie and I kind of had a moment like that when we went to Scarefest this past year where we kind of like it was our first time doing press there, and we were kind of like okay, but once we just started kind of having fun with it, we were like okay, whoever wants to talk to us, let's just, and we were just more like, let's just go connect with people. Let's give out stickers. Let's just go do this. And I
Hmm.
think that really kind of like changed things for us once we
Hmm.
did, because then it was like, well, we gave them a sticker. So at least we were able
Yeah,
to give them a sticker at the end of the
yeah,
day. Like, that was the cool part. So, like,
Hmm.
I mean, for me, like, I gave a sticker to Tom Adkins, and I was like, this I feel like I grew up watching every single thing he was in, so like getting that experience. And I know Kylie, like, she got to talk to Scout, and
yeah. That was
um
really, really cool. That was really cool.
I, she was so very nice. So but yeah, I think that's just great. And so obviously with you coming on, we do a lot of research, kind of preparing for things. Found a really great article that was done by Canvas Rebel
Hmm.
featuring you. And one of the things that I really liked that you said was my guest and I deep dive into the meaning behind the story, characters, and the overall tone of the film. And you were talking about how that is more important to you than anything else, kind of like what you just said. Why do you feel it's important to approach your interviews like that?
Um, oh, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. Oh, I was not prepared for that question, but here we go. Because um, I think because of my experience growing up, uh, s- and people always have like the mask, and you think, oh my gosh, they have the best life. They have everything. I wish I was like them. But then when that mask come off, you're like, ugh. I like the way my masks look. It's not always peaches and cream or something like that. So I think it was just, I think the backstory and understanding where the story comes from is more important than the end result. It's like the journey is better than the destination. Um, and learning so many things, and especially when it comes to film, and like directors, some of them, especially in horror, they put their life or what they've been through in their film. I mean, if anyone have seen Dust Bunny, that movie, I mean, it looks fun, obviously, a giant, bunny creature thing. But really, the movie was really showing child abuse. And the director, Brian, he suffered a very abusive dad. And he always like, if I could make a wish for something to eat my dad, I would have done it. So he had an opportunity to heal from it by creating something that we all can see and understand. And I've learned that through so many filmmakers and directors that, yeah, their films are bloody and gory and they're fun, but there's a reason why something is happening. And having that opportunity to like peel back those layers. But first, you have to make them feel comfortable because not everyone's going to tell you their business. I've had people come out on my show. I've had directors just boohoo crying, and just felt like they could tell me anything. When I interviewed Radio Silence for Scream 5, they all three of them, their eyes were watering because of how passionate I was talking about that film. And Dewey and I grew up watching Scream. So, and then we end up being friends. So it's like, I just think that's so important to know the blood and the heartache and the pain you went through. Because when I did my first short film, I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car, and I was still going to college and still working, but no one would know that. You wouldn't know that, because I would come to, on the set and everything, like everything's fine, but I would be crying my eyes out, like, where am I going to sleep next? What next meal I'm going to have? Even though I was spending the money to making sure the actors and the staff was fed, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do after. So it was really tough. And I just think the story, just the journey, and also to help people understand that you could do you can't do anything you want, but you could try to do anything you can. Just really work at it. And this is the real story how it became. Like, I interviewed Dead Meat and found out they were dirt poor. They both was broke. And then look at what it built up. So, and I didn't know that until I interviewed them and we became friends. So that's what I'm saying. You have no idea where these people came from, and people just think it's just, oh, everything is so easy. No, some people had to sacrifice. And so I just wanted people to understand where these movies come from. It's not just somebody just wrote something. It's they're putting their heart and soul, their feelings. They're getting over abuse or an essay abuse or something, and that's the only way they could put it there. And so most of the time I could spot that in the film. Yeah. So that's
Yeah. I think that's beautiful because, when I went to college, we talk about this all the time. And I think I found it actually, Kylie. So we're going to have to maybe like put it on the internet. But I did write an essay about, like, they made us do a verse one, and I did horror movies versus romantic comedies. And what I was talking about is there's just a depth that you're able to get with horror because you don't have to have a good ending. You could end it bad, terrible, however, mind numbing, but you could really just put a lot of deep things in it. And it's how a lot of us kind of confront our own monsters and
Mhm.
our own situations that we've been through in life. And I think people have forgotten that that's what makes horror important, is that we can talk about those things in this safe context. When you're going through a movie and you're watching it, you're able to maybe confront some things in yourself that you wouldn't normally be able to do, but it's in a safe environment because you're watching a horror movie.
Mhm.
So I do think that that's really important.
Yeah, I think just a lot of people don't understand, like, what we do with horror, or just why people make horror movies, or just how much horror, like, means to people. Like, horror's just got me through some incredibly difficult times in my life and has since I was a kid. But, like, when you do interviews with people and, like, why they make the movies that they make in horror, and you're, like you said, peeling back those layers, like, that there's deeper meaning, and I think people just they don't understand that. Or just even with, independent horror movies, like, these are people's, like, blood, sweat, and tears and their dreams, and they're putting their all into this because this is what they love. This is something that is here for them and is helping them, and they're creating something beautiful. Do they have a huge budget? No, but, like, not everybody gets that when they make a movie, and I just think people need to not be just so critical on people who make horror films, or, like, why, like, you're a horror fan.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think.
I think,
Oh,
like
go ahead.
Go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead.
I think just a lot, like, I think we've all faced that even just growing up, like, "Oh, you like scary movies, you're weird," and, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, I think it's funny those people now are the ones that, like horror movies now because 'cause they're cool.
Mhm.
We've been trying to tell you guys forever.
Yeah, I think one of the bravest things a filmmaker need to have is just being able to be brave to put your stuff out there. Like, it doesn't matter if it is good or bad, just putting it out there to get ripped to shreds. I mean, there's
Yep.
going to be someone who's going to hate it. I mean, you could probably make the best script ever, shot the best with the best equipment, and there's going to be that one person like, ugh, this is terrible, and that'll be the one that stick on you than anything else. But it takes bravery, even doing what we're doing. I mean, because believe me, somebody's ripping us apart. I mean, it's just, I see it all the time. I either delete or just keep scrolling and laugh at it. It's like, whatever. But it's just being brave, and it's hard, especially, and it didn't come easy. I mean, I was a child that was very closed off. Right now, I'm getting help for my ADHD, depression, PTSD, anxiety. I have a therapist and a psychiatrist, and I take medication just so I can look like this. But believe me, like some days I look like a piece of crap. But it took years for me to figure that out. And like I said, you just don't know what people have to struggle with. It's tough, but it's fun.
Yeah, I feel
It
like
is.
people just don't really understand sometimes when you do it for the love that you do it for. Like I can really relate to that because I have ADHD. Like I was very lucky to get diagnosed in the 90s, but like it was because I literally was putting my head through the wall.
Mm,
And so but that's something I've struggled like my whole life, and I've kind of felt like I didn't really have a corner or some place to go. And so this was my way of kind of processing through domestic violence, through my son being in the hospital, through like the challenges I face as an autism mom, the challenges that I face as a woman, and just really kind of pouring into what kind of kept me sane through a lot of that. So I do think, we preach a lot around here, horror that heals. And when I do tell people that like some of my all my comfort movies are horror movies, they look at me like I am deranged. But it's because it was comforting to like see certain people not feel like they belonged and
mm,
know that that was okay. Like that it was okay to go through all these things, that there was another side to it, and that you could get out and that you could do so many just different things. So I think there's a resilience that isn't talked about a lot, especially with horror content creation. I know a lot of fellow creators that, especially women creators, that they're dealing with so much behind the scenes just to be able to show up and do what they're doing,
Yep.
but it's
mm,
because they love what they're doing. So they're going to keep going. And I think that that's just beautiful.
mm,
Um,
Yeah.
but it, it definitely shows you like, this is what's behind all of this. So like, we might look like this, but Kylie and I are two moms from Ohio. Like that we,
mhm.
Yeah.
we're best friends and we're like, hey, let's do this together. Like I kind of recruited her into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, because I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering addict, and I very first got clean when I was like 23, back in like 2014, and so like where I'm at now and doing this stuff, like it's just so cool to me. And if you would have told me back then that this is what I would be doing, I'd be telling you that you're lying, you know. But I like that you brought up like just the wearing of the masks. I don't think people really realize how just strenuous that can be on some days, and even just doing this, because like there's just a lot of days like I'm not okay. Like I have, CPTSD. I deal with chronic pain issues. I have two dead parents that one died pretty horrifically and the other one just way too soon. And like, but I keep pushing through because this is what I love, and like this is what they would be wanting me to do. My dad was person that got me into horror movies and why I love horror, you know. But with this, you do have to put on a mask because nobody wants to hear that stuff. But I can come on here and talk about certain movies that helped me process some of those things and get through those things. Or just talking about, like, with other people, things that they've been through and how horror has helped them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That kind of really powerfully leans into the next question I wanted to ask, which is, why do you think horror is such a powerful space for exploring womanhood, especially for women in horror?
Hmm. I would say because oh, that's a really I've never heard of that question before. Um, I think I think it's the stories that are being told by women for women, and sometimes there's some stories by that are told by men who understand women to a certain extent, like the movie Men. Um,
Mhm.
that movie tore me up um, because I was with a narcissist, and it's funny. I was watching that movie with him, and so that just ooh, I was watching it. I just felt everything and knew exactly it was written by a woman, but it was directed by a man. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of stories are showing, especially giving women a chance to show how they feel and how their perspective in horror, how they would react to it, because a man would react differently than how a woman would react to the same situation. Um, I really do love like how Babadook, even though the kid was just too much, but I really love how it talks about not just this entity, but it was like how she was going through all this emotion trying to take care of her son that was just wild, and she's trying to just make a living and just trying to live, and hereditary, abuse, verbal abuse, going through, family abuse as a woman. And I mean, there's always some kind of underlying in some of those films, but I really do like how they're giving women voices. But I think, how it's told by one race and another. So um, I think that's also important to give, you know, um, all women, all cultures a chance to show how it is, because it's definitely different for me. It's definitely different for you, and someone from India is different, and someone over there is different. So I like how we're starting to see um, horror movies by women from all over the world and express their feelings of how, because we would probably be like, nah, I wouldn't do that, I can't relate to that, but then someone that's seeing it, that's in their culture, like, I can relate to that, and so they get to see themselves in those films. So I think that's definitely important. It's a ride, we're starting to get more, but we need definitely more, because horror is a man's genre. It is
Mm-hmm.
a white man's genre specifically, so we just got to push through. It's hard when a lot of them are like standing at the gates, but some of them will open the door for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said about that though, because that is very important. Because I know, like for Kylie and I, we have another branch of the podcast, which we are bringing back, but we started Spooky Moms Coven together. And that's because we had a lot of moms come up to us and ask us. But the one thing that was important for us is to be more visible about our struggles as special needs parents. And the first episode we did was Come Play. And the
Mm,
reason that was so important is because the mom, like, that was the first time I really truly in my adulthood, there's been two movies, this and Invisible Man, that I've actually seen and I've gone, wow, that is exactly how I feel. And it just portrayed the struggles of, like, am I sheltering my kids too much? Am I not sheltering them enough? The
Yeah.
tight ropes that we walk and the things that we do. And it was just done in a way where it had conversations about the mom and her relationship with her child, her
It
relationship with
didn't
herself.
it didn't make autism bright and shiny and like a
Mhm,
superpower that a lot of movies and a lot of people will,
mhm,
because not everybody's child or even young adult that has autism has that kind of autism. Like my
mhm,
son, he's more like the boy in Come Play, like he's nonverbal. He has a communication device, he's very high needs. Um, we have a lot of really just difficult moments, and it just portrayed what autism looks like for him very well, but just like the family dynamic and like what kind of happens.
That movie is fantastic. That's one of my favorites. I tell people all the time, you need to see that movie. It doesn't get enough play.
No,
Yeah,
no,
Um,
it doesn't, and it really just it does portray such a deep, because like I'm on the other side of that coin where my son is verbal, but my son has a lot of medical and sensory issues, and like it for me, the part that like I felt the most seen is like I've dealt with, and actually, Kylie and I met at the same moment that both of us had that going on. But like my son was eloping during COVID, and that was so hard for me. And like it broke me as a woman going through that because I felt like I failed as a mom. So watching that mom in that movie struggle, I feel like, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much? Like kind
yep,
of that struggle, it just made me feel seen. And it was like the same way with Invisible Man, as someone who's been through domestic violence, like the way that they portrayed gaslighting, the way that they did, like it was so close to home. So I
mhm,
do think, like you said, I feel like everybody, we do need more and more movies that are talking about these situational type things, whether it's, women from different cultures, different races, or women who are experiencing different things, like
mhm,
having a special needs child or homelessness, drug addiction. Like we need these stories because it's important. Like it's important to feel seen.
mhm,
mhm,
Because I know, like, for both of us, a lot of things that don't get talked about is how isolating just raising your child can be, but especially when your child is not a conventionally looking neurotypical child, and
mhm,
the challenges that you have to face, like that can be very isolating. So seeing somebody that's actually portraying that in such a great realm, it just makes us feel like we're getting seen.
yep,
So I think really truly, like, this is the time where we need to start seeing more women in horror and having more of those experiences,
mhm.
and just kind of bringing more stories to the forefront. Which brings me to my next question. As a woman working in the horror space, have you noticed any challenges or differences in how you're treated?
Ooh.
You don't have to go into too much detail.
Oh man. Well, it depends. But it just depends. In the beginning, no. In the beginning, when I started, I didn't really see it, but I think I was just blind. Like I didn't want to see it because I'm like, you know, I felt like because I didn't know what I was doing, that's why I was getting the treatment that I was, because I was like, oh, I'm new. I have no idea how to talk to these people. But over time, I noticed some things with other content creators. Like some of them felt like I shouldn't be in that space. And I was trying to figure out why. And I never try to look at color. Like that's not I never try to look at that first. I was just like, oh, maybe because I'm inexperienced and I was this new person, just starting and things like that. And, I try to look at that, the logic, not the other parts. But then uh, some an actor really put in my face that it was my skin, and that was very shocking because I've watched movies this person was in, and he has a big in his circle of people that I know, and he just doesn't know. And so it's surprising to see him in movies recently, and it's like I when I wanted to interview him, he made me feel like I couldn't do it because I was black. And he was like, I take the white guys behind you type thing that came out of his mouth. And my friend that was with me heard it and he was so mad. And I said, I don't want to get kicked out of here. And this was at a horror convention. And it was devastating. That was the first time that happened. And I just kind of stood there as like, nah, we not doing in this now. Like this century? Like what? Like I was so hurt, but I was shocked. Like what? And I didn't say anything for a long time, but my friend wanted to like blast him everywhere. And I was like, ugh. His circle of friends, I would get ripped apart. I'm trying to get out there, and I just kind of like, oh, I'll say I'll see him again. I'll see him again, and believe me, I have. But anyway, it was just very, very shocking. It happened not just with that person, but another one, well-known director and practical effects artist, and it's just shocking when that kind of stuff happens. And I could sit and complain and woe is me, but at the end of the day, I still got to get up and do what I got to do. I have to realize that a lot of these spaces, sometimes I'm the only black girl. And it had happened numerous times. I would go to a premiere or something, and I would be the only black girl. It's just black person, period. It has happened. And I'd never felt like someone was treating me differently because I didn't care if they did. I'm still getting in that space. Like I don't have time for that. That stuff is old, So it probably have happened a lot, but I didn't care because I still made my way in there. And I'm like, I deserve to be in this space just like you. So, I mean, I was born with this skin, and it's just who I am. And if that's the first thing people are going to look at, then that's their problem. But I've proven myself to stand in these spaces. But I do have to work. If you're black in this space, you have to work harder to prove yourself. And that's everybody knows that. That is just what it is, and it sucks. But I'm here. And I don't complain about that. You probably never heard me say stuff like that all the time because it's normal. It's such a sad thing to say, but it's normal. I'm going to be looked at differently, but I still need to go and do my stuff. So that's just how it is.
Yeah, well, for one, I would never know because your content, anytime that it's popped
Yeah.
up, you're just so personable. I mean, you just like you grab me as soon as I'm watching something, like you tug on my heartstrings right away because I immediately am like relating to what you're saying. So I wouldn't know that, but it is hard because like it is a reality. I definitely, obviously don't know how it is to be in your shoes because we obviously are two different races, but as women in general, like we do have to work so much harder. And I know for me, the only thing I can relate to it is being a plus size woman in this sphere is really hard. Because there are a lot of people that look at, oh, well, you're fat. So like, what do you really know? And it is one of those things where it's just like, it's not something I really talk about a lot because in general, I don't care, but there has been things that have been said to me before that's just like, oh, okay, that's really your outside thoughts. Okay. I guess that's just what it is. But like, it's like me being overweight doesn't discredit all the things that I know. about horror and who I am as a person. I worked really hard to be that way. So, I do think it's one of those things where sisterhood is kind of important too. Like a lot of us
Yeah.
women coming together. Like I know I got in a really bad place when it came to like self-image and different things like that. And Kylie kind of had to Titanic throw the lifeboat over to, life raft over to me, like, and even at some point come and just throw it on me and be like, no, I'm not letting you do that. Like, who cares? Like, people are going to
Yeah.
say something about you, but they're wrong. Like, I know you, I know how hard you work. This isn't you. And so I do think that like it's interesting and it's also interesting on the other side because there are a lot of men too that will go up to bat for us. And men that truly will just stick up for us and make sure that we are in that lane. Sledge, I'm looking at you, like Ken. But I mean, like he is one very clear example where I could say, like, anytime any woman in horror that is somebody that he cares about is like someone comes after him, he is the first person to be like, nope, this is not happening. And I think that's what makes horror great is we do have like great allies and different people. But it does suck when we have
It's still just such a shame that that is something that like you've had to deal with though, like within the horror community, because it's just something that shouldn't be. It should not. And like I don't know. I don't like that. Because you're amazing.
Because thank you. It was shocking because when I first started, it was in the comic book scene.
Yeah.
And those people are brutal because like, oh, did you read comic book 3? And he went you know what I'm saying? Like that's a whole nother.
They are hardcore. They are hardcore.
Yeah, and that's how my ex was. Like he had stacks of Punisher and all this and variants and everything. And so when I was doing that kind of thing, I was like, oh, I'm not going to read all this. And I'm so far behind, but horror movies I've been watching since I was a kid. And I could relate to those more. So, and then getting into that space, when I went to Monster Palooza, the first time I went there were 3 Black people in the entire convention. And I counted 3. Because I walked around and I only saw 3, and I was there from when it opened until they closed. And I was like, man, and that's the one that was in Pasadena. No, Burbank. It was in Burbank. And so I was like, where's my people? Like, there are people who love horror movies. And so slowly I started to see more people show up. But then I had people tell me, said, you were one of the first Black girls I seen that come out of the space, and it made me want to go to these conventions. And I was like, really? Like, oh, that's kind of weird. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, but great, and some more and more started showing up and becoming podcasters and things like that, which is very flattering. But then they realize it's a very hard space to be in because it's like it's saturated, and what makes you different. Just be you. My mistake was trying to be like someone else, and when I realized the work to pretend to be someone else, I just didn't like that. So I just became me, and then I had to figure out what me wanted to do with me. And so I've had to fine tune, and I'm always forever changing. There's always something different, and always good. It's always good to change. If something's not working, just change it. I am guilty of staying the same, and I refuse and stubborn. But man, thank goodness I have changed. A lot of things wouldn't have happened. But yeah, it's such a space where I felt like we need more people. There was a lot of men at these when I used to go, but now women are starting to show up there and like to be scared and cosplay and stuff like that. And of all shapes and sizes, and I was like, yeah, we need that, and it's just I just felt like I could be anything because everybody dressed and looked all weird and strange, and no one's looking, no one's like judging, like what? Because I mean, but I have been to WonderCon and LACon where they kind of do a little judging because you're not a certain size or a certain look. I've been to those, but I feel like horror is a little bit more open. At least I don't cosplay like that, so it could be different for cosplayers. But for what I've seen and the friends that I know, it just seems more open, and they could just be whoever they want to be and feel whatever they want to feel. So, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I do feel like it's something, I feel like the same way. Like when we started this, I feel like I had to be a certain type of way, and truly, I think it's more when Kylie came on, we talk about it a lot, but sometimes it's just like we say things on here that later on, like, it's like, oh, watching that back, it's like, oh, okay. I really talked about that. All right. All right. Well, okay. But it was really important, I think, for us to truly like to show female friendship, that you
Hmm.
can
Yeah.
have female friendship, that you can have a business together, that you can do these things together and still make your friendship a priority. Like Kylie and I always joke around that like she'll bring the matches, I'll bring the gas. Like if this thing ever becomes a part of our friendship where we can't get past it, and I don't think we'd ever will, because like there's too many people that if we like actually had a problem, they'd be like, okay, we need to do mediation, we need to sit down, we need to figure this out. But we've both been very clear.
It would be like Lestat and Louis in this upcoming season of The Real Vampire Lestat.
Yep. Yep. We would be on the other sides, but
Yep.
I think for us too, it is harder because I think a lot of times there is the easier way where you could step over people and you could beeline, and for us it's just like we don't, that's not our path. Like
Mm.
we
Yeah.
truly believe in what we're doing and the way that we're friends, and just so if this ever did become a problem, we would burn it down to the ground together, because our friendship would be more important.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people, and that was kind of something for us too that was very disalarming, is when we started to like really get into certain circles, it was like, oh, you guys really stab each other in the back like this. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's some
okay.
stabbing. There is some stabbing, and I've seen some stabbings. I was a victim of a stabbing, metaphorically, um, but yeah, it happens. I say pick your battles because they're like that guy who said that horrible thing to me. His friend um, is a director of a movie that he was in, but his that friend know me and is my friend. So it was like it's such a very small world, and he ended up being in another movie where the director of that movie asked me to review his movie, and then when I saw the cast list I almost said no, but I was like, it's not his fault, he doesn't know. And it was just like, I mean, it's such a small world. The horror community is a small world, and I keep the blinders on. I just do my thing. I don't get into the drama. Um, nah, it's just not. It's too much to be going
Yeah.
through. I mean, this is a genre that we're always picked on anyway. Why are we picking on each other? I mean, it just doesn't make any
Yes.
sense.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of us, like, we found family in
Hmm.
doing this, and people that have really profoundly, like, changed our lives and, like, the way that we view things. Like, I always talk about Bill Perry. Bill Perry is Uncle Bill to my child,
We love
and
you, Bill.
like, but Bill, we do love you, but like that's just something I never like thought like this person that I would meet at a convention and then would come on and stuff like that, that we'd be as close as we are. But there's just like friendships and different things that we've been able to make through here that are just like lifelong. And you really, it's about like coming together and unifying. So I think that's the most important part. And it does suck when you have those experiences, but and it can bring out your inner demons. I'm the first person to say that because I've definitely felt victim to that and having my own body image projected and that catching up to me. But um, I think if you just keep reminding yourself why you do it and why you love it, then it helps you come back. And I think you're right because like it's in such a small space that like you're going to see that person eventually, and whether they like it or not, they're going to know who you are.
Yep.
So even though they chose not to acknowledge that, they're going to have to acknowledge, your existence because you go around the same circle. So,
Yep.
but this has been absolutely incredible. We are so thrilled and excited that you've come on and done this with us. So all that I have left to ask is, what is the future of your channel in your eyes?
Well, I've been thinking about quitting for a long time. Just quitting the whole horror movies and beyond. And I'm just being honest. I have, because it's been, how you just feel like, I really need to be over here, but I'm not there yet. And what is going on? And so, because I'm an overthinker, and then my brain starts going, and then it's like, oh, I get in that mindset of like, I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, woe is me. It does hit me sometimes, and I felt like, maybe I'm done. Maybe I did everything I could do with this. And then something spectacular happens just to show me like, okay, I'll give it one more shot, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm done. And then something, it just, so sometimes I just got to shut up. just, I'm just talking myself down on, that's why I have a therapist to talk to. But I'm hoping to take it to a studio level where I'm in a studio and having guests come to the studio. And I really wanted to have that atmosphere, not just they're sitting down and we're doing a podcast. I would want something like if it was Jimmy Fallon, like if I was Jimmy
Yeah.
Fallon,
Yep.
like a whole set, music, but it's nothing but horror genre, thriller, sci-fi, just praising them like they do the dramas and and those kind of movies, and the Oscar winners, and then, those who won, Fangoria Awards or Dead Meat Awards be on my show. Just the same thing. And they promoting their horror music and stuff, like Ice Nine Kills. I've met him a couple of times. He's pretty awesome. And so like somebody like that, like do stuff like that, but just have that atmosphere of the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
It That is something I've brought the attention to some people, and they would be like, and they were producers and stuff. They was like, whoa, I would watch that. So I was like, oh, well, I just got to work on it. So, but it's really hard to be a woman, and then then throw in a little color in there. Like, I want to do this, but I look like this. And they're like, it's already kind of funny, but it can be done. It's really hard. And I'm hoping to take my channel to that level, and I would go from there on. So that's what I'm hoping. But for now, continue on doing the interviews, continue on movie reviews, and do better, get better, learn more, change things I have to, and just keep pushing. Yeah.
I love that, and I will say, if Kylie and I win the lottery tomorrow, we will green light that for you. But
Yep.
that would be like first on our list. But we would definitely watch with ecstatic eyes and ears and just be so thrilled because I do think that that is something, especially women
Mhm.
need,
Yeah.
because we see time and time again with like all the trends, like you know we're dominating different areas. So I feel like that would definitely be a natural progression. So I will be keeping my eyes peeled for that most definitely. So but until then, please go follow Ivotres. Her tags will be down below. Go watch all of her content. She is absolutely incredible. And she will always have a chance to come back on Horrorcraft. Like you,
Yes, yes. It
Absolutely.
was
you
yeah, you guys you guys are cool. Yes,
uh,
thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you know, you just proved to us that sometimes we just gotta shut up and do it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, we feel the same way, and we are just so excited that this episode is going to be the one to kick off our series. Because I think we've just talked about some really incredible things tonight. So,
Mhm.
um, we'll have you stick around after the outro to get everything set up. Uh,
I
but go
wanna
ahead.
wanna wanna say something to end with this. Sometimes you have no idea what something could be unless you gave it a shot. And sometimes you when you get shot down or the door closed, it may not be forever. It could be just it wasn't the right time. And a great example is when Scream 5 was coming out, and everybody was talking about it. Everybody was, oh my God, Scream 5. And so I was watching all these promos and all these YouTubers and everything getting to talk to the cast. And I was just butt hurt because obviously they were way younger than me. And I was like, I grew up with the first one, It's like, why? What's up with that? And I never got a shot to talk to any of the cast, anything. And it was in a go to premiere or nothing. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, fast forward a couple of months later, that's when I met Dead Meat. Chelsea asked me to make her a malignant mask for her. Oh, and I do that too. I make things like that right there. That's from
Oh,
um
okay.
what's that movie? The Last of Us. It's
Yes,
gonna I can bring it. Let me get
it's
closer.
a cordyceps. Isn't that what it is? Oh, yep, yep.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, that is incredible.
Yeah,
he
it's made out
is.
of clay, out of air drying clay. I made that for a workshop I had did last year. Anyway, so what happened? She wanted me to make her a malignant mask for the movie, and she was doing something for Halloween. This was during COVID, and so I did it for her. She loved it. She said, "I'm gonna invite you to my wedding." So we ended up talking more. I ended up going to their wedding, and it was beautiful. And as I was standing looking for my name on this list, Bonnie come walking up, and I was looking at her. I was like, "Oh my God, you played the nun." Like, she was like, "Yeah." And so I was like, and we became cool and whatever. But the opportunity of a lifetime came. Like, I couldn't get the 5 minute, the interviews are 5 minutes or 10 minutes and some of those PR things. I'm standing there and I'm looking at Matt, Tyler, and Chad from Radio Silence, and they were talking to each other. And I said, "You know what? I'm going to wait to talk to them." So as I'm waiting to talk to them, Ice Nine Kills, he just stood right here. And I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And then I was talking to them later, and I said, "I really want to interview you guys." And they was like, "Yeah, yeah, you can interview us. Here's our numbers and everything." I said, "So do I need to get in contact with your people?" They was like, "We're the people. You can talk to us." So instead of me getting like a 5 minute, 15 minute, I got an hour and 30 minutes with them talking about Scream 5. So sometimes the door shut and it hurt. It hurt. Believe me, I cried my eyes out. but sometimes it just takes you to another path of doing the thing you wanted to do, but it gives you a longer span or a bigger platform. So that has happened to me several times. Um, you know, it just like I'm watching scary movie and I'm end up on the stage with, I play Doofy and and them, so it's like I'm doing a panel with them, so it's like you have no idea, so just keep doing it. um it's going to hurt. It's okay to cry if something doesn't happen. Just boo your eyes out, but don't stay in the dark place too long. You got to find the light, and believe me, it'll come when it's going to come when you're ready. You may think you're ready at that moment, but no, you may not be ready. The universe will know when you're ready, and then that's when you just do it and don't turn down nothing. So yeah, just want to say that.
I absolutely love that advice, and I feel like you just spoke to my soul.
Same here. Same
Very
here.
deeply.
Yeah.
So we definitely appreciate it. Yeah, please go, and if you are not subscribed to Ivotres' social media platforms, please go, and we'll have everything in the link down below. But we will definitely have her back on in the future.
Yes.
Hopefully, maybe to talk about the thing, because that's still, we need to come back around
Yeah.
and talk about that. So you might be the perfect person for that.
Yep.
So, but until next time, I'm Cass and
I'm Kylee.
we're the Horrorcraft Podcast, and we're saying bye and stay spooky. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.